broadcasting live from Houston, from the space city to the world. You are watching Now Media Television.
Man, we're just going to talk about something that I know I've been coaching business owners for about 15 years. One of the things they just dread doing is bookkeeping. We're going to bring on KRISTIN Gunderson. KRISTIN is one of the best bookkeepers in Houston. She helps small to medium-sized business who don't have a full-time bookkeeper on staff. Her goal is to help free up the business owner from that tedious task of bookkeeping and to help them focus on the most important thing, operations and profit. So KRISTIN's going to talk to us today, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about that one thing is how to establish your sales tax procedures. Take it away, KRISTIN.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on the Biz Talk Show today. Again, I am KRISTIN Gunderson, the CEO of Gunderson's Bookkeeping, and I am here to answer all of your tax and bookkeeping questions. So the first question that we have for today is how do you establish your sales tax procedures? And I want to let you know this isn't an easy answer because it depends on which state you're in. It varies state to state. It also depends on what industry you're in. And for example, I work a lot with construction companies, and just how it can differ for construction companies, it depends on if you are selling from your location, like they're literally coming to pick up whatever the items are from your location, or if you are going to their location to install it. So for instance, like if you're a window company and they're coming to your location to pick up the windows to install themselves, then the sales tax will be based off of where you're located. If they're installing the windows at different locations, the sales tax will be based off of where they're doing those different installs. It also could depend on if you do, depends on your invoicing. Like, are you doing a lump sum invoicing where all the materials and labor is charged into that one lump sum invoice? If that's the case, then like sales tax probably wouldn't be chargeable. Again, depending on the invoice or the industry. And the next scenario is, are you doing a cost, like a materials cost plus, and then add the labor in? If you're separating out it on the invoice by line item, then just the material would be chargeable. Another instance is, are you doing residential? Are you doing new builds or remodels? Or are you doing commercial? So that all goes into play as to if you're charging sales tax, where you're charging it, and if you even need to charge it. So the best recommendation I can give you on sales tax is we need to call your state's comptroller to find out what you need to do for sales tax to begin with. And another thing is you can probably call us too, and we can help you out, but it's individual basis. So it really needs to be discussed one-on-one instead of a lump, like across the board, everyone has the same sales tax, which is not true. The next suggestion I can give you for sales tax is once you find out if you need to be charging and how you charge, is that money does not belong to you. You are basically holding it to pay into your state comptroller's office either at the end of the month, the end of the quarter, or the end of the year. And that all depends on how much sales tax you're collecting in, will determine if you're either yearly, quarterly, or monthly. And another suggestion I can give you is once you do know your sales tax and you are collecting it, I highly recommend opening up a bank account just for your sales tax. Like I said, it's not your money, so go ahead and move that money over into this other bank account that you can be holding it until you need to do your quarterly reporting or your monthly or yearly, depending on what you are. Again, if you have any questions on that, feel free to reach out to us or go ahead and call your state comptroller because it varies state by state. The next question that I have for you today is how do you determine your tax obligation? So your tax obligation really depends on what type of business entity you are. So that's where we got to start out. Are you a sole proprietor? Are you a partnership? Are you an LLC? If you are any of those three business entities, I want you to know that your net income, so whatever you make, your revenue minus all of your expenses and your cost of goods sold, that is your net income. And that flows through to your personal tax return, and that is where you're going to pay your payroll or your taxes, your federal withholding taxes. And another thing that you need to know is, remember back when you were an employee and you got your paycheck and you would have federal withholding taken out of your paycheck, and also the employee side of the Social Security and the Medicare? Well, now that you are a business owner, you have to cover the employees and the employer side of Social Security, the employees and the employer side of Medicare. And all those combined is like 15.2% that you need to go ahead and pay in based off of your net income on your federal tax return that you do. It's due April 15th normally. Unless you file an extension, then you get to October 15th. And another thing I want to remind you of is not only do you have to pay your Social Security and your Medicare taxes, but then based off of how much income you are making for the year, and if you're married, like your spouse's income comes into this also. But depending on how much income you actually have for the year, depends on what tax bracket you're in. And you have to pay federal withholding off of that, and that can be anywhere from 10 to 20-some% of your total earnings that you're going to have to be paying in. But again, that depends on individual by individual, and if you're married, file jointly, or married, file single, or head of household, it all goes into play for that. So if this is you, if you are the sole proprietor partnership LLC, another thing that I want you to know is that if you are going to end up owing more than $1,000 in taxes for the year, you need to go ahead and pay in your quarterly estimated taxes, okay? Those are due about every quarter. The last one for this year is due January 15th. So I highly recommend that you get with your tax preparer, tax professional, and tax planner and determine how much you are going to have to pay in, because if you are going to owe any money, like if you're making a profit in your business, you're going to have to pay some in. Go ahead and make that estimated quarterly tax return by January 15th so that you won't owe interest and penalties for not paying it in on time. So even though your tax return isn't due until April 15th, you're really supposed to pay in by January 15th if you think you're going to owe any money. So that took care of everyone for sole proprietor, partnership, and LLC. The next one is corporation. If you are a corporation, and you're probably going to be filing a C Corp, your business entity is completely separate from you personally. So your business is going to have to do a business tax return, and then you are going to have to pay taxes based off of how much income that business took in for the year. So that is completely separate. However, if you have a corporation, you are probably an employee, or you should be an employee of your business, and having a W-2, you're getting payroll now, and again, it goes back to you're probably going to have the Social Security and Medicare and your federal withholding taken out of your paycheck, and then you're also going to have to file your personal tax return, and your whatever you made that year off of that W-2, the payroll that you took home all year, that's going to be on your W-2, and then you're going to have to do your personal tax return like any other normal individual. All right, so those were the questions that I had for you today: how to get your sales tax procedures done and determining your tax obligations. If you have any questions about any of this, feel free to reach out to us. Again, I'm KRISTIN Gunderson at Gunderson's Bookkeeping, and you can reach us by phone, 936-372-2661, or you can get us on our website, www.gundersonsbookkeeping.com, and of course, we're on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and we're at Gunderson's Bookkeeping. Thank you.
Well, that was great stuff, KRISTIN. I really appreciate it. And I know, bookkeeping isn't things that all of us business owners like to do, but it's important, and it really helps us maximize profits.